Hey, welcome. So, today we're going to dive into a word you hear thrown around all the time in tech: DevOps. What in the world is it really? Is it a job title, some fancy new software, or is it more of a mindset? Well, it's kind of all of the above. But to really get it, let's start with a problem that I think every single one of us can relate to. You know the feeling, right? You're waiting for that amazing new feature in an app you love. They promise it, they hype it up, and then it either takes another 6 months to show up or it lands and immediately crashes everything. That feeling of frustration, that's the exact problem DevOps was born to solve. Okay, so to get the solution, we first have to understand the problem at its core. In most companies, you've got two main teams. You have the development team, they're the ones building all the new, cool stuff, and then you have the operations team, whose job is to keep everything running smoothly. The thing is, traditionally, these two teams are separated by what's famously called the wall of confusion. Look at this. It lays it out perfectly. The dev team's whole goal is to promote change. They want to ship new features and they want to do it fast. But the ops team, their job is the complete opposite. They need to ensure stability. They crave reliability and predictability. So you see the problem, right? When one team's success looks like constant change and the other team's success looks like zero change, you get friction, you get resentment, you get this huge invisible wall running right down the middle of your company. Now, this conflict isn't exactly new. In fact, the old ways of building software actually made it way, way worse. But then, some new ideas started bubbling up, and they put the very first cracks in that wall. For the longest time, software was built using what's called the waterfall model. And it's just like it sounds. You do one step, like figuring out the requirements, and then you flow down to the next step, like design, then coding, then testing. You can't really go back up. So just imagine finding a major design flaw when you're all the way down in the testing phase. Fixing it is a nightmare. It's incredibly expensive and takes forever. This whole process just created these massive, high-stakes releases that put a ton of pressure on everyone. And then, in 2001, everything changed with the Agile Manifesto. This was a really revolutionary idea. It literally said we should value individuals and interactions more than processes and tools. And we should value working software more than a mountain of paperwork. The whole mindset shifted from rigidly following a plan to being flexible and able to respond to change. Agile gave us practical ways to work, like Scrum. So instead of a giant 2-year project, teams started working in these short bursts, maybe 1 or 2 weeks long, called sprints. And the goal of every single sprint was to have a small, working piece of software to show for it. This made everything so much more predictable and way less risky. At about the same time, ideas for manufacturing, believe it or not, from Toyota's car factories, started leaking into the software world. This was called lean thinking. And the core idea is beautiful in its simplicity. Just ruthlessly get rid of anything that doesn't add value for the customer. That means no more useless features nobody asked for. It means cutting down on delays, avoiding the chaos of constant task switching, and just not having a bunch of half-finished work lying around. So Agile and Lean gave us the why, the philosophy for working together better. But DevOps is what gave us the how. It provided the actual engineering tools and processes to build a bridge right over that wall of confusion. Let's take a look at how that bridge gets built. Okay, the first plank of our bridge is continuous integration, or CI. Just picture 5 developers all working on their own features for a month without ever combining their code. The day they try to put it all together, it would be an absolute disaster. CI solves this. It gets developers to merge their code into one shared place many times a day, so you catch those messy integration problems super early. Next up is continuous delivery, which takes CI a step further. Every time a developer merges their code, it doesn't just get stored. It automatically gets built, tested, and packaged up. The big takeaway here is that at any given moment, you have a version of your software that is 100% ready to be released to your customers. All it takes is the push of a button. And then, for the really brave teams, there's continuous deployment. This is the last piece. With this, if a code change passes all the automated tests, it doesn't even wait for a person. It gets automatically launched live to your customers. This is how companies like Netflix and Amazon can make hundreds or even thousands of changes to their apps every single day. Now, all of this, CI, CD, it all hinges on automation. But this comic, it's a perfect warning. Automation is awesome, but you gotta be smart about it. If you spend 5 days automating a task that only takes you 30 seconds to do once a month, well, you've completely missed the point. The goal is to automate the boring, repetitive stuff so that the humans can focus on the hard problems. So we've talked about processes like Scrum and tools and automation, but honestly, all of that is pretty much useless without the single most critical piece of the DevOps puzzle, a massive shift in company culture. This slide absolutely nails it. In a classic blame culture, when things go wrong, the first question is always, whose fault is this? And that just breeds fear. It makes people hide their mistakes. But a blameless culture asks a totally different question. What part of our system allowed this to happen? It assumes that people are trying their best, and it treats every single failure as a golden opportunity to learn and make the system better for everyone. And that right there is the end game. A blameless culture lets a company achieve true organizational learning. The whole organization learns from its mistakes and its wins. So instead of making the same errors over and over again, the company just evolves. It gets better and stronger and smarter over time. That is the real superpower. So now that we have a pretty good idea of what DevOps is, let's quickly talk about what it isn't. There are so many myths out there, so we're going to do a little rapid-fire debunking session. All right, first one. You see DevOps engineer on job listings all the time, so is that all it is? Just a job? No, not at all. I mean, sure, the job title exists, but if you think DevOps is just one person or one team, you're missing the whole point. It's a cultural movement. It's a set of principles about working together and sharing ownership that needs to spread through the entire company. Okay, next myth. Is this whole DevOps thing just for flashy startups in Silicon Valley? Definitely not. The core ideas, breaking down walls, making work flow better, learning from failure, they're totally universal. These ideas have been used with huge success in giant, old-school banks, in insurance companies, even in massive government organizations. It's not about the size of the company, it's about how people work together. And the last one, this is the big one. Is DevOps just a fancy new buzzword for automating everything? And again, no. Automation is a super important tool for DevOps, but it is not the goal. You could go out and buy the most expensive, fanciest automation software in the world, but if your developers and your operations teams still can't stand each other and they hide information from one another, you don't have DevOps. You just have very expensive tools that nobody's using correctly. The culture has to change first. So, I want to leave you with this final thought. DevOps gives us some incredible tools and frameworks, everything from Agile and Scrum to these amazing continuous delivery pipelines. But at the end of the day, all of it, every last bit, is there to help people work together more effectively. It all boils down to this. You can have the most perfect futuristic tools on the planet, but if your human culture is broken, that wall is never coming down. Thanks for joining me.